Okay, welcome to this new tutorial. Here we're actually going to look into UI and playing around with UI. What is the idea here is basically I prepared already a view. So this is basically me testing out Unity WebGL by making a website in Unity. Um, how is this done? So basically I create an entire hierarchy already for the site. Is basically blocking out specific zones. So the same goes with working on UI. So for example, my top, so this is my entire HUD. That is basically everything. I want my HUD to be have like 4 different places. I want a top bar, left menu, content, and then a right menu. So with Unity UI, you can actually stretch, custom stretch the game object. So here I go from 0 to 1, which means from left to right. This is 0, it's 1. 2, 0, 8 to 1, so 20%, which is the top. This is 0, this is 1, 0 0.8 to 1. This means my left, middle, and right, all of them go from 0 to 0 0.8, so they have the bottom 80%. Left has stretching on the x-axis also, first 25%, and 50% for the main body, and another 25% for that's the right side. 1 second. Yes. After this, on the top, you see that this is the very dark, ugly yellow. I created another background, and here it's very interesting to know that these are the stretching are local positions, so they are depending on their parent. So this background is part of the 20% of the top. When I say you are from 0 to 1, 0 to 1, I can show you on screen here. Zoom out. I select this. It goes from corner to corner. So these are the anchors that you can play around with. Sorry. And here I wanted actually from 0 to 1 on everything, and I wanted to have a nice little border. And all of a sudden, that is knowing this is also when I will put a game object under this, it will also go from 0 to 1 in the yellow area. So that is seen as this area. This is why I add images for visualization. So normally all these images should be removed and never appear. But for now, they are there and works very well to visualize. Then also something very important to know, for example here at the top, I have a background that's gray and I have a label. The order is very important. If I move my label up, it is still there, but it is not visible. And the reason for that is the label. So Unity will go down the hierarchy and always display first comes first. So he first actually draws my label and then draws the background. So very important to keep that in mind. And also if I would have an image here, this image would be drawn before the children. So keep that in mind, it's very important to know. And now what we're actually going to do is we're going to create buttons. Okay. How are we going to do? We're going to create an empty one. We're going to call it button. The idea is here that what we're actually going to look for is, first of all, I have a nice little button texture here. So I'm going to use this for my background. And I would like to change the size also of my button. Now, for my texture, I would actually like it to be part of everything. Now, this is a texture I got from somebody, so it's not the final one, but you want to have as little room around it as possible. So there are different ways to do that. Either get a texture that is really close on everything. Other options are working with atlases, and that way it will already delete the empty space. Also here, as you can notice, the texture is being stretched. So atlases can also help on keeping a really crisp look on, for example, rounded corners by defining zones that cannot be stretched. So you can say for the first 100 pixels, I don't want any stretching. Then for the last 100 pixels, I don't want any stretching. And it will only stretch the part in between here. And then you can say the same from top and bottom, and then it will stretch. And this can be like 1 pixel that will be fully stretched. That is not an issue at all, but that way you can keep some nice crisp borders. Here we're just dragging in from here. This is also texture type is a sprite. This is very important for images. If you don't want to put an image, there is also create texture, and that will be for placing a texture. This is not really used in UI, so what we're actually using are images and text. So now next place is create empty. This will be our label, and we put a text here, and we call it theme. Again, I would like you to be stretched within my box. After that, I would like you to be centered. I would like you to be black instead of white. And then I would like the best fit in here. Now, this is real nice, but I don't want it to go over my border, so I can take my anchors and I can actually move them around. So I would like you to be there. I want this one to be here. This changed my, so of course this changes these values, but we can fix that. And all of a sudden it fits within this square that we defined. And now we have a button. Well, no, what we actually have now is a background and a text. What we do need to make a button is actually add a script button. So we can change sprites based on highlighted, pressed, disabled, which sprite it is. So we have a lot of options also on this. We don't want any transition, and we can turn it off. Now we have a button. we have no interaction on it. So interaction happened with on click, and as you can see, it says list is empty. So we could add things here, but we don't have any scripts. Folder is empty, so that won't be helpful. But you can here add when this script should run, when you're clicking, which object it is, and then it will look for all the scripts on that object and exit, and then you can choose a specific function. Personally, I never use the prefab to set on-click methods. I will always do it by code, and that is also something that we will do in next exercise. So here we're just going to learn how to create a button from code. After that, I will stop the video, get my entire menu build up from code. I will make a new video after that to work on interactions and what we can do and how to set that up to actually have sort of a manager for all our interactions. So what do we need now is actually folder prefabs. So this is a button. I would like to reuse it. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to drag it into my project. So this is now a prefab. I can change things on this, and every time I'm going to create a new button, it will look exactly like this one. I can make changes here still, and then I still need to apply them for them to reach the prefab. It's hard to see here, but this is actually turned blue. You can see that the color is a bit different when I'm selected. So this is actually blue, while these are all black. That's how you see, is it a prefab or a regular game object. What we can do on the other hand, we don't need this anymore. We're now going to create two scripts. First is going to be our HUD, which we're going to drag on here. And the next script we're going to create is main menu button, and we are going to put it on our button, which is also on prefabs. You can still interact with them. The one thing I'm going to show this on the other hand, for this is a limitation in Unity. So if I create an empty one here, I apply the prefab, you do not have access to it. So you only see one level of game objects. So this makes it one of the most annoying parts about working in Unity. Is you don't have full access to all the nested prefabs here. And there are quite some downsides to that. Some things always need to be dragged into the scene to actually edit them once you start making quite large prefabs. On the other hand, now it's really not an issue for this little exercise. So we are going to go to our head. What are we going to do? Well, first of all, let's put this on the side, not OBS, but Unity. On this side, we don't want accept it, of course. It's okay. We're going to make a public game object, and it's going to be our button prefab. And when we go check it here, we have our button prefab, and we can drag a prefab in here. Next step, we would like our button to be part of left bottom. So we also need to have our left button linked. So why is that? We want this to be the parent, so we're actually going to set the parent to be this. What's the next step? Well, we're actually going to create a button. So instantiate, and here you can see it takes existing objects and wants to make a copy of it, and it returns it as an object. Luckily, button prefab is an object, but we would like to get it back as a game object. Now, also very good to know is actually make sure that the button prefab exists. So if the button prefab exists, then instantiate it. And again, we check if that actually works, because it's possible that this is not a game object, and so this wouldn't have worked. So we're actually making sure always null checks, very important on this. If it's there, okay, then what we first would like to do, so to set the parent, you actually set that on the transform, set parent, and we want you to be the left button, and it's also a transform that you pass along. And then button.transform dot. Here again, we saw this in the cube, it was not important, we just changed the position, the roll position. Now we're actually going to change the local position. We want our button to be at 0, 0, 0 compared to our parent. What does this mean? That it will be here 0, 0, 0, and if it would be so this is local position 0, 0. If it's roll position 0, 0, it would have actually come all the way here. No, sorry, all the way here. So this is 0, 0. So it would actually be dragged to this corner, and we actually want it here. So that's why we go 0. So now if we run it, there we go. A button is cloned. So the parent is set to bottom, so it's underneath it, and it's at 0, 0, 0. This is a very easy step. What are we actually still going to do? Let me check how long this video is already. We are now at 18 minutes, almost 19, so we still have a bit of time, so it's not too long. I would like this not to be at vector 0. I would like it to be here at the top. For that, I'm going to make some space. What I need is, this is a new transform called rect transform. It's used for all the UI. So as you see, position, size, anchors, pivot information for a rectangle. Okay. And we need this of our rect transform of our left button dot transform. So what does this do? Actually now we have access to all these information. So a rect transform is a transform, so we can have access to this. but we specifically need this one. Why? Well, we're gonna have some fun now. So for example, vector 3 bus equals vector 3 dot 0, for example. And here we have bus. So now it's put on 0, 0, 0. But what we can do is bus.y equals, right, dot make the rectangle of that height. I'm going to do here is actually, I'm going to rename it. Right, trans. This just rect transform rectangle height. Okay, so what's going to happen is our button is going to be somewhere way on top. Why? Because height is from bottom to top and we start at 0. So if we divide it by 2, our pivot point of our button is going to be right there. And there are two options to have fun with that. Is actually, let's say, okay, middle center, what is it? I put it at middle top, 1, 1, 1. So with my anchor changed, yes, my pivot also needs to change for that. And now, if I go to scene, I can actually select it, and I can see, it's, I don't know if everybody can see, but it's a very small white line here, which is actually my button. I can add component image, and add an image here. There. So this is my button. And as you can see, this little cross is my pivot point. And from there, he places the button. So now we have a nice button, one under the other. Now, let's say I would like to have multiple buttons created. So if I have a prefab, let's say I want 5 buttons. So I need to create a for loop that will create 5 buttons. Zoom out, I'm going to press play. See, I have 5 buttons, but they're all on top of each other. This is not very useful. But I do have options. So if I go here, I want to change the name, call it rect transparent, and I make a rect transform, rect trans button equals rect transform from, I will bring it back to full screen so everybody can see this, from our button dot transform. So now I also have access to that information. So I take height divided by 2. This means I start at the top, and then for each I, so it starts at 0, so that means at the first element this is 0. This means this multiplication will not be there, so it will be at the top. But I want you to add the height to it. And now it goes up. Height is added. Of course, this is not very useful because what we want is not to go up. We want it to go down. Very easy. Minus. Play it again. And there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buttons. All evenly spaced out. Go check our live scene. We can take our buttons. We can add an image and you can see they all that's the button I wanted to change, the image. Evenly spaced, nicely looking. This is exactly what was requested. And now we have, with a single script, set up the menu. Now this is another thing we can do. We have our main menu button that is added here, but we haven't done anything at all with it. So let's see if we can actually do something. So what I would like here is actually to access my label. So for that I need to use Unity Engine UI, and all I'm going to do here is just say, yeah, this script has a label, nothing more. If I go to button, it has a label, and I can drag my label in there. What does this do? Well, on my HUD I have my button and has a label, so I can actually work with it. So here, this was basically where we actually set the position. Here, I'm actually gonna fill in the label. So first thing first, what do we need? We actually need to have a script. So let's call it menu. So this is part of the button. We do a get component, main menu button. So button get component main menu button. Okay, so of course let's make sure we actually have that component. Right. So if menu not equals null, this means we know that there is a label in there. It's a label, that means we can access its text. And we say changed. What does this mean? If we go back to Unity, there is, I didn't expect that end region. Yes, I forgot that this is end region. Battery issues. There we go. This is all. So end region. Anything display. once they changed. Now, how does this work? Now, this was a very easy show of how to create a lot of buttons, but what we can do is we can have a few methods. We can actually keep track of the previous position. That way, if we have buttons of different height, we set this as the first height, and we keep track of what it is at the next time, and then keep adding and adding and adding. So I will demonstrate this in the next video. I think we took quite some time about that. Yes, we are now approaching 31 minutes. I will end it here. But now we have learned how to create stuff from scripts for the UI. It works the same for any place else. We have learned about prefabs, and what we're going to learn next time are there's a different system for this. Well, yes, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was useful, and I will make a new tutorial quite soon after this.